Alright, so this video is going to cover this arrays chapter 7 practice quiz. So let's kind of go through this. So let's look at this. So first 5 are multiple choice questions, and then there's a written one. So we've got a class called bingo card, and it looks like it's got an int array called my card. The bingo card has a constructor and a display method. So default constructor creates a bingo card with 20 random digits in the range 1 through 90. Okay, so it says a program that simulates a bingo game declares an array of bingo card. The array has num player elements where each element represents the card of a different player. Here is a code segment that creates all the bingo cards in the game. Okay, declare array a bingo card, construct each bingo card. Which of the following is the correct implementation for declare an array of bingo card? Well, it's an array of bingo cards. Is it an array of integers or an array, right here, of integers? So no, it's an array of bingo cards, so you can cross off A and E, so that focuses us down into B, C, and D. The array has num player elements in it. So how about B and D? There's number of players as their elements. So cross off C. And then look at B and D. This is a bingo card array, not an int array. So your answer's got to be D. So that's not too hard to kind of narrow down. 2, assuming that players has been declared as an array of bingo card, which of the following is a correct replacement for construct each bingo card? Alright, so the only answer that can work is 3. 1 and 2 are big no-nos. This card is just a placeholder for whatever element in players that you're in. Go watch the video on the for each loop. So you definitely don't ever, card is not it's not it's not an index position. Card is just a placeholder with the element in it. Let me just demonstrate this real quick. Now I'm not going to create a bingo card class and all that. I'm just going to do an integer array. But in my array I've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Element position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll probably just put that there. Index. So I got index position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so if I run this right here, X is just, like I said, my placeholder for where I'm at in the array. R, so I got 5 printing right here, but then if you notice, element 0 is still 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I'm in position, I've got 6, then 7, then 8, then 9. But let's say I try to assign X to 5. Okay, X is 5 each time, but you would think if X was the actual element R0 and then R1, then R2, then R3, then R4, then R5, then assigning X to 5 would change R0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but it doesn't do that. And that's because X is not I guess you would call it an alias of whatever R position. It's just a placeholder, and it just goes up. It's position 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you don't want to. 1 and 2 are really bad. You don't want to do that. So and at the same time, look at card, like that. 1 and 2 don't make sense, so the only one that makes sense is 3. So you got your for loop starting at 0 to the length of your player's array, and for each position you're going to assign it to a new bingo card. Okay, so 2 is C. 3, consider writing a program that produces statistics for long lists of numerical data. Which of the following is the best reason to implement each list with an array of integers or doubles rather than an array list of integer or double objects? Well, let's see here. An array of primitive number types is more efficient to manipulate than the array list of wrapper objects that contain. Absolutely A is your answer for that. You want to almost exclusively use an array over an array list if you know how many elements are in the array. And if it's not going to grow or shrink, then you want to use an array. You only want to use an array list if it's growing or shrinking. The reason for this is that if you were to go back to your reading on array lists, you've got the .get, .add, .set, all those different methods that you have to know about. And every time you use those, it takes a little bit longer because you have to run through those methods code in order to change things up. Where with an array, you just set whatever position you want or change whatever you want, and it just instantly changes the array. So all these other ones, they run just a little bit slower. So insertion of a new element into a list is easier to code for an array. Let's see here. Insertion of a new element into a list is easier to code for an array. I would say no on that. I mean, you can't insert new elements into a list, an array. Remember, it's a set size, right? Array lists can change, so B is not right. C, removal of elements from a list is easier to code for an array. That's not true either. You can't remove elements from a list. So if you have a list of integers, you can change one to 0, but you can't remove the element because remember, arrays are static. They're one size once they're defined. D, accessing individual elements in the middle of a list is easier for an array than for an array list. D's not going to be right. A is clearly the answer. Accessing elements is probably, you've got the methods that you can access the elements with. That's kind of nice to have with an array list. And E, accessing all the elements is more efficient in an array. Than in an array list. I would say E is true as well. To me, in my mind, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you can use the methods to access the elements, that's pretty easy to do. But at the same time, in my mind, it takes longer to access the elements in an array list. Either way, when you're using primitive data types and you know the size of your methods, you want to use an array list. For which declaration will cause an error? This one looks pretty easy to make a mistake on. So remember, you've got these wrapper classes for your array list. Depending on what data you're using, you can't just use like an int or a double. They have to be like up here, like uppercase double or integer. So clearly this one will cause an error because there's not a wrapper class of int. There's a wrapper class of integer. So this one's not right, but the other 1 and 2 are 1 and 3 are correct. So the answer there is D. And last one, let's see here. We've got a wrapper class of string list. We've got a string ch, it's equal to blank, and we have an integer int ob, and it's an integer. All right, integer 5. Which statement will cause an error? That'd be fine. You can add a string to a string list. You can add a new string, handy Andy, to a string list. You can add the toString to a string list because that's going to return a string. You can take a string and add 8 to it. That's fine. Now remember, the string is expecting a string, so if you have this integer, an integer plus an integer is going to give you an integer, so you can't add an integer to a string list. That won't work, so your answer is E. Short answer, write a program that prompts the user for an integer. This integer will represent the length of the array. Once you have the length of the array, ask the user to fill the array with numbers and then print the array. Okay, so I'll write this, but I'll write it up to here right now. I'm going to comment this out, and then I'll start writing my code down here. Alright, so we need the scanner. Okay, so scanner, my scanner equals new scanner system.in. It prompts user for an integer. The integer will represent the length, so we got to ask it, please enter a number. Int number equals my scanner dot next int. And then we'll create an int of nums equal to a new int where the number is going to be their number of elements. And then we can ask the user to enter in the elements for each one. So int x equals 0, x is less than our number, x plus plus. So I can do system.out.println. Please enter the element. I'm going to say at index position x. So then we'll say nums at x is going to be equal to my scanner dot next int. All right, so that populates our array. And so what I'll do is we'll just say that x is going to equal about just 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we'll enter 3 into number, and then that will be good to go. All right, so let's read what else we have to do. So then reverse the array element so that the first element becomes the last element and the old last element becomes the first. The second element becomes the second to last element, and the old second to last element becomes the new second element, and so on. Do not just reverse the order in which the array is printed. Actually change the way they are stored in the array. Do not create a second array. Just rearrange the elements within the array you have. Hint, use a temp variable to swap elements that need to change. When the elements have been reversed, print the array again. Okay, no problem. So we just, use a temp variable to swap information. So what we could do is we'll print out the original array. Say original array, and I'll say for int nums system.out.print, and I'll say num plus, and I just wanted to show you guys, the more I can do this for you guys, the better, because ideally on the AP test, when you can use a for each loop, they definitely want you to use a for each loop, and I think they're getting to the point where they're going to grade you based off of a for each loop. The for loop has too many ways to make mistakes, because, is it less than or equal to, or is it like number.length or whatever your array, so it'd be nums.length here. In this case, I just used number because that's the number in it, but I could have just said nums.length. Anyway, so what we'll do, we'll have an int start equals 0, and int end is equal to nums.length minus 1, and we're going to have an int temp variable, and I'm going to say while start is less than end. Sorry, that's like some Python code right there without the... Alright, so, and actually, you know what? I'm going to do a bigger array. I'm going to say 4, 5, 6, 7. So... So we want to make sure that we go through the whole thing, but when we're doing this, we're going to start here, and we're going to swap these. So this will swap with this. Then what will happen is start will go up by 1, and end will go down by 1. Okay? So start always has to be less than end, though, all right? Because we're going to get to this spot where, then we'll go here. We'll swap 3 with 4, and then we get here, is 3 less than 3? Nope, so then we would be done. Okay, so we're going to set our temp equal to nums at the start position. So we'll set this temp to the start position, so that will equal 1 right there, because start is 0. Okay. We'll then say nums at the start position is equal to the nums at the end position. So this blows out the data now. So the end position is in position 6. So 7 is now what is now stored in position 0. 1 got stored right there in temp. Okay. So again, we're doing a swap. So now position 0 is set to 7, and now we got to blow out the data in 6, or in position 6 to be 1. So we got to say the nums at the end position is going to equal the temp variable that we set up right here. Okay, so now those are swapped. So now we've just got to add 1 to start and subtract 1 from end. So now we increase start to here and decrease that to there, and now is the start position 1 is 1 less than 5. Yep. So then what we'll do is we'll assign that to the temp, and then we'll assign this to what's in position 5, which is 6. So that gets blown out, and then this needs to get blown out. Now this needs to change to what was in position 1 with the temp, which was 2. So that changes that, and then we add 1 to start. It becomes 2, and n becomes 4. And so position 2 is less than position 4, and so we just do the process again. Start becomes 3, n becomes 3, and 3 is not less than 3, so you're done. Okay. So my guess is that you probably would have to do some sort of swap on your AP test, but probably more like multiple choice top question. But I think that's something that they like to know that you know how to do, is swapping variables. And notice we fulfill what it's asking for in the prompt. It says do not just reverse the order in which the array is printed, actually change the way they are stored in the array. Okay? Do not create a second array. So again, if you're on an AP test and they tell you not to do something a certain way, don't do it that way. Okay? So we'll print a blank line, and then we'll say system. We'll do the same thing here. Then I'll copy and paste, and I'll say reverse array. And let's see here. Let's see how that works. This should work. I think this is right. Please enter a number. So my numbers were 1, 2. Wait. I need to enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need to enter 7. So let me do this again. Sorry. So my number is 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my original array is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My reverse array is 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so spend some time with this. Knowing how to reverse arrays is definitely something that you're gonna probably need to know how to do. There's a bunch of programs where we do that. But other than that, this quiz is good to go. So